Level 1. The second look. The truck is in the driveway 4 hours early. Tailgate down. Bed empty. You are 9 years old. You have already locked the front door twice, once with your hand and once with your eyes, and you are on your way back for a third pass when you see the truck through the window and stop. Your father built a deck for a man named Keller. 16 days of labor. Lumber fronted out of his own pocket, all of it on a handshake. Keller paid $2,000 of the $3,200 and stopped answering his phone. Your father calls him 11 times. Then he stops calling and starts staying up. Your father is a carpenter. He owns one commandment and says it the way other men say grace: measure twice, cut once. On Saturdays, you hold the dumb end of the tape measure in the garage while he reads the smart end twice. 14 3/4. Check it. 14 3/4. In wood, the rule is holy because wood does not grow back. What nobody explains because nobody knows it yet is that you are about to spend 30 years applying a carpenter's rule to things that were never lumber. A sentence is not a board. A Tuesday is not a board. You will measure them anyway. That night you sit at the top of the stairs and listen to your mother move $1,200 around the kitchen table in envelopes. Heat, truck, groceries. The envelopes are thin and the voices are thinner. And somewhere between the heat envelope and the truck envelope, a 9-year-old writes his own commandment without noticing he is holding a pen. Measure everything, cut nothing. The habit starts paying you immediately. That is the trap. Nobody tells you it is a trap because at the beginning it looks exactly like a gift. You read the math test 3 times and catch a minus sign trying to sneak past you, and you take the only 100 in the class, and the teacher holds your paper up to the room. This, she says, is what careful looks like. At the grocery store, you catch the register charging the cereal twice, $4.79, and a manager apologizes to a 4th grader while your mother beams. She tells the story for a week. My little auditor, careful pays. You have receipts. What you do not have yet is the other ledger, the hand you raise in class and lower before anyone sees it, because the answer might be wrong. 30 seconds later, a kid 2 rows over says your answer out loud and collects your praise. The birthday invitation that says reply by Friday, which you answer on Saturday after weighing it properly, to a phone that has stopped ringing. The habit pays in coins and charges in doors. You do not notice the doors. 9-year-olds count what lands in their hands. By 12, the checking has a schedule. The stove, twice. The homework, 3 times. Every sentence silently in your head until the moment it was built for has already left the room. Your father works 2 jobs that winter to fill the Keller hole. He comes home gray at 9 at night, and you file the lesson where the deepest lessons go, below the floor of you where no audit reaches. The world takes everything from a man who does not check, so you check. You think you have found a tool. Tools go back in the drawer when the work is done. This one does not. You are 9 and you have just hired the only employee who will never ask you for a raise. It does not want money. It wants hours. You have no idea yet what your hours are worth. It does. It has already run the numbers. Level 2. The drafts. There are 31 unsent emails in your drafts folder. You know the number because you counted. You counted because counting is what you do instead of sending. You are 23 now, an operations analyst at a freight company, $41,000 a year, in the cubicle by the printer. The job is numbers and you are good at numbers, and for one shining year, that is the entire story. A 2-line reply takes you 40 minutes. 9 versions. You study the words sounds good, the way lawyers study contracts, hunting for the reading where it comes out sarcastic. Then you send it and read it again in the sent folder, twice, auditing the past. It is the only audit that never closes and never pays. Your boss is a man named Marsh, mid-50s, coffee in a plain cup, fair in a way that costs him something. In your first year, you catch a carrier invoice, billed twice across 2 systems, $6,700 nobody was looking for. Marsh buys you lunch and hands you the compliment you will carry like a stone in your coat. You are the smartest analyst on this floor, he says. You are also the last one I would hand a deadline. Both halves are true. That is the problem with both halves. He gives you the quarterly reconciliation after that, the work nobody else can be trusted with, and you do it perfectly, and it is due on Fridays, and you deliver it on Mondays, and everyone quietly agrees never to discuss the Mondays. In meetings, you build the perfect comment. You test its load, sand its edges, rehearse its tone through 4 agenda items. The moment for it passes. 10 minutes later, a guy 2 seats down says a worse version of it out loud, and Marsh writes it on the whiteboard. Nate does not have this problem. Nate is your college roommate, sells software across town, decides everything in 4 seconds flat. He is wrong about once a month, and it costs him nothing you can see. At month 11, he walks into his manager's office with no notes and no rehearsal, asks for a raise, and walks out with 12%. The group chat gets 1 taco emoji. You are happy for him. You mean it. It keeps you up until 2. That March, you open an article called How to Ask for More. You are going to read it properly first. The tab is still open in December. Your raise arrives on schedules instead. 2%. You run that math in 9 seconds, $16 a week before tax, and you notice, without smiling, that it is the fastest math you do all year. Recruiters email. You file them in a folder named Later. Later is where money goes to wait for you. It does not wait. At home, the ritual grows rings. You reread text before sending, after sending, and once more at 11 p.m. for tone. You draft an apology for a mistake you have not made yet, just to have it ready. You lie awake improving conversations from last Tuesday, directing the version of you that was not in the room. You do not call any of this fear. You call it standards. You call it being thorough. Fear does its best work under a professional name. By the 3rd winter, the drafts folder holds 44, and one night, you look up from it and notice the browser behind it, glowing, a long row of little tabs, every one of them a question you opened and could not close. You count those too. Level 3, 41 tabs. The apartment is $1,150 a month with south windows, and the landlord is holding the door open, saying he has 3 more showings before dinner. You say the 4 most expensive words you own. Let me sleep on it. By 9:15 the next morning, it is gone. You sign a darker place on a louder street for $1,400, and you are the only person alive who knows that the extra $250 a month, $3,000 a year, is the price of one night's sleep. Sleep, it turns out, bills. Here is how this level works. Every open decision is a tab, and every tab charges rent. There are 41 open on your laptop. The phone gave up counting and shows a smiley face where the number used to be. Gym contracts. 3 credit cards compared to death and never applied for. A mattress that came with a 100-night trial, which you decided on night 101. And the oldest tab of all, 6 years old now, the index fund research. You have $23,000 sitting in checking at 0.01%. You know, roughly, the way you know the ocean is large, that it belongs somewhere else. You have been finishing the research since you were 22. Meanwhile, the money waits in the safest place money can be, which is the expensive way of saying nowhere. You have never calculated what the waiting costs. You calculate everything else. That one stays in the drawer, and you know exactly why. And you do not say why, even to yourself, even at 3 a.m. The car takes 9 months, 14 spreadsheet columns, 4 dealerships, 200 tabs opened and closed like Tide. While you decide, the old car invoices you $2,300 in repairs. You finally buy the exact model you picked in month 1. It now costs $1,100 more than it did in month 1. Indecision is a decision. It just refuses to sign its own work. At 3 a.m., the archive opens. A sentence you said in 2016, produced in full transcript with commentary. Storage is free. Retrieval costs the night. You lie there rewording history for an audience of none. And at 7, you get up and perform A Man Who Slept. You price the performance at 2 coffees a day, $180 a month, and you drink them and call it a personality. Then, at 27, at Nate's cookout, Elena. She is an emergency room nurse. She decides for a living, 12 seconds and a pulse, and she is standing at the grill telling Nate his chicken is done. Not asking him, telling him. She is right. On the second date, you are 10 minutes into the menu, circling back to the chicken for the 3rd time, when she closes her own menu and orders for you. "He will have the chicken," she tells the waiter. "He had it right the first time." Then, to you, quietly, "You usually do." 4 words. You will keep them the way your father keeps his level. Elena buys the first lamp she likes. She leaves stores in minutes, whole and unharmed. She has returned exactly 2 things in her life and enjoyed both. When you ask how she chooses so fast, she shrugs. "Most doors open again," she says. "You want to write that down. You do not need to. It files itself." And in 2 years, she never once tells you to relax, which is how you know she is the one. And it will still take you 4 more years to say so out loud. You call the tabs research. Research closes. A tab is a question that pays you nothing and charges you daily, and you are carrying 41. And in the morning, before coffee, you open 1 more. Level 4. The committee. By 30, the inside of your head has an org chart. Risk sits at the head of the table. Risk has the big chair, the gavel, and a binder of everything that has ever gone wrong for anyone, anywhere, ever. Legal drafts apologies for things that have not happened. Archives can produce 2016 on request, unredacted. Public relations replays every conversation within the hour and files a written report by 3 a.m. And down at the far end sits an intern from sales, 9 years old, who keeps raising his hand. Every decision goes to committee. In 30 years of continuous session, the committee has approved 11 motions, all of them after the deadline. Minutes are kept. Nothing is ever tabled, because tabling would end the meeting, and the meeting is the point. You fund the entire operation out of sleep. At a burn rate you refuse to audit. At work, the machine produces its masterpiece. You find a miskeyed fuel surcharge bleeding across 6 accounts for 14 months, and the recovery comes to $81,400. The company gives you a plaque that says, "Excellence in Diligence," and a 3% raise it calls market conditions. You are at $58,000. Nate is at $91,000 plus commission, and the promotion above you goes to a man whose entire skill is saying circle back with his whole chest. In October, you begin the email asking for more. 11 drafts, salary data in an appendix. You are still tuning paragraph 2 in January when the hiring freeze memo lands, and the window you were busy measuring closes on your fingers. The market does not wait for your best draft. Nothing does. This is the tuition, and you keep paying it, and the course never ends. Elena, year 3. There is a file on your laptop called ring.xlsx. 61 rows, 14 months. Columns for cut, clarity, vendor, price. $3,200 to $5,400. And column N, built at 1 a.m. and never mentioned, is resale value. You built an exit into a promise and told yourself it was prudence. On a Sunday, she borrows the laptop to print a return label, because she returns things easily the way healthy people do. The file is open from the night before. She reads for a long time. You watch her scroll to column N and stop. "How long?" she asks. 14 months, you say. 15 in March. She closes the laptop gently, the way you shut a door in a house where someone is sleeping. When she finally looks at you, she is not crying, which is worse. "I do not need the right ring," she says. "I needed to be an easy decision. One time. Just me." You tell her you are sure. You tell her you only want to get it right. That right takes time. That she deserves the research. She packs 1 bag that night. At the door, she stops, hand on the frame, and for exactly 1 second, you believe the meeting is going your way. She does not sleep on it. That is the whole difference between you, and it walks out wearing her coat. Inside you, risk seconds emotion. Legal opens a file. Archive starts recording for the 3 a.m. session, which will now run nightly, indefinitely, at full attendance. You will replay the doorway 1,000 times and change your line in every version, and none of the versions will reach her, because revisions do not travel. And the intern from sales puts his hand up, holds it there for 1 full second, and takes it down. He has been 9 years old for 21 years. He is about to get very busy. Level 5. The invoice. Busy looks like this. In 3 weeks, you write her 14 texts and send none. The drafts folder learns her name. You reread the last conversation the way scholars read scripture, looking for the translation where it ends differently. And every night the committee tables nothing and adjourns never. For 21 consecutive nights, the committee meets at full strength, and on the 22nd at 3:12 a.m. on a Tuesday, Your chest joins the session uninvited. It is a fist behind the sternum, a heartbeat you can hear in your teeth. You drive yourself to the hospital across town, not the close one, and you do not examine why. 4 hours, an EKG, blood work, a doctor who is younger than you and kinder than she has time to be. The intake form asks you to rate your pain from 1 to 10, and you spend a full minute on it because 7 feels dramatic and 6 feels dishonest, and the nurse takes the clipboard away mid-deliberation, which is its own diagnosis. She uses the word unremarkable about your heart, and the word stress the way mechanics use the word electrical. The bill is $1,912. You pay $1,912 to learn that nothing is wrong with you, which is not the same as learning nothing is wrong. A year before she left, Nate brought you a duplex, $210,000, 2 units, tired paint, a roof with 5 honest years in it. The numbers worked in crayon. He wanted to split it, $21,000 each down. And you said yes, absolutely. You just wanted to run it properly first. You built a model with 19 tabs. On day 19, Nate called. He had signed that morning alone. He apologized the way weather apologizes. Tonight the duplex is worth $258,000, and a tenant pays $2,150 a month into a checking account that is not yours. And Nate has never once brought it up, which somehow makes it louder. So on the Thursday after the hospital, you sit at your kitchen table, open a blank spreadsheet, and for the first time in your life, you point the skill at yourself. You itemize what the habit has billed, the raise you never asked for. 4 years of gap, $34,000. 6 years of $23,000 asleep in checking, $9,400. The apartment you slept on, $9,000 and counting. The car you researched into a higher price, $3,400. Half a duplex, $48,000, plus a tenant, plus whatever comes next. The folder named Later, priced conservatively, the only row where you're allowed to guess, $17,200. The last row is her name. You leave the cell empty. There is no currency. You check anyway, quietly, the way you check locks. There is no currency. Total, $121,000. The total is wrong, and you know exactly why. An empty cell does not add to a total. It hangs over one. 25 minutes, one sitting, no revisions. You do not read it twice. It is the best work the habit has ever produced, and it is the habit's own invoice. And somewhere below the floor of you, where the deepest lessons live, something 9 years old goes very still. You print it. You fold it in thirds. It goes in your wallet, in the slot where men keep photographs, and you sit at the table until the window turns gray. Not deciding anything, just done. Level 6, the clock. The therapist directory has 41 names, because of course it does. You pick the third one in 11 minutes. It is the fastest medical decision of your life, and you make it the way a drowning man grabs rope, without reading reviews of the rope. $140 a session, Tuesdays. She does not fix you in an hour. She hands you a notebook and one question. What did deciding cost this week? You are the first client she has ever had who answers with a printout. She reads the invoice without flinching. Then she asks the question that rearranges the furniture. What did checking ever actually prevent? You go looking for one example. One disaster the vigilance stopped, and you come back with a caught minus sign and a $4.79 serial charge and 30 years of overhead. The chess tables are her idea, more or less. Go somewhere with rules, she says, and other people. The park has both. That is where you meet Gus. Gus is 78, retired air traffic control, 31 years in a tower. He plays with a battered wind-up clock and 2 house rules. $1 a game, and the loser resets the pieces. On your first Saturday, you take 6 minutes on move 9, deep in a forest of variations. Safe, invisible, gone. Gus reaches across and presses your clock. Your time, he says. You lose in 19 moves, pay the $1, and come back the next Saturday, and the one after that, the way some men go to church. You are not slow, Gus tells you, resetting pieces. You are mispriced. You pay boardroom prices for grocery decisions. He teaches you the sheet he ran towers on. 2 questions, always the same 2. What does it cost? Does the door open again? Somebody said that to me once, you say. The second one, smart somebody, Gus says. You should have married her. She was the one, you say. It is the first time you have said it out loud, right on schedule, which for you means years too late. Ah, Gus says, and lets it lie, and takes your rook. The pricing sheet goes on an index card in your wallet. Reversible in under $100, 10 minutes. Reversible in under $1,000, same day. Only irreversible in over $10,000 earns a week, in writing, with a date on it. Everything else is a move, not a marriage. I moved 11,000 airplanes with 80% of the information. Gus says, you know how many perfect calls I made? 0. Everybody landed. He tells you about the night a storm stacked 40 planes over the field, and he had 90 seconds a call. All night, no committee. You ask how he stood it. He shrugs the way Elena shrugged. Nobody pays you to be certain, he says. They pay you to be on time. You start clearing the backlog like a man shoveling out after a long winter. The index fund takes 11 minutes on a Tuesday lunch break. 6 years of research settled at a food court table. $23,000 moves. The confirmation email is shorter than any draft you ever wrote, and you read it once. The drafts folder takes 1 Sunday hour. You send 11. You delete 33. 0 is the cleanest number you have ever produced. You buy shoes in 10 minutes. You order the chicken in 1. Small decisions start costing what small decisions cost, and the savings show up where nobody can see them in the hours, which were always the real currency. The recruiter comes out of the folder named later. $71,000, a real title, 20 minutes from the park. You decide inside the week, in writing, with a date, and Marsh reads your resignation twice, which from Marsh is a standing ovation. In March, you sleep 7 hours in a row. The committee still exists. It has simply lost its quorum. Public relations files for reassignment. Archives keeps bankers' hours. Legal has not drafted an apology in months. The clock is not your enemy, Gus says, taking your dollar. The clock is the only thing that makes it a game instead of a haunting. Level 7. The second opinion. It turns out there is a market for your disease. It just needed a deadline stapled to it. A quiet man from accounting is buying a laundromat. $185,000, retiring seller, books that gleam. He has heard about you, the way offices here, and he offers you $1,500 to read the deal before he signs. You read everything. Leases, 3 years of utility bills. You put the water bill next to the claimed number of loads, and the two figures refuse to shake hands. Then you pull the county records, and there it is, recorded and undisclosed, a $190,000 tax lien with the seller's name on it. The seller calls it a misunderstanding. Liens usually are. The accountant does not sign. He tells 11 people. Paranoia with a deadline, it turns out, is called diligence, and diligence bills by the hour. $1,500 becomes $4,000, becomes $7,500 a report, and every report is due in 10 business days. No extensions ever, because the deadline is the product. Anyone can be thorough forever. You sell thorough with an ending. Buyers of small businesses find you the way nervous people find railings. A car wash with a leaking ledger. A bakery whose margins are frosting. You kill 4 deals out of every 10 you touch, and the killed deals advertise louder than the closed ones, because the men you saved tell the story at dinner for years. At 34, you quit the day job. A firm of 1, then 3. You hire 2 people who are nothing like you and 1 who is exactly like you. And on her first day, you hand her a $23 chess clock and an index card, and you do not explain either. And by June, she does not need you to. At 36, you buy a company, heating and air, 11 vans, an owner with bad knees and clean books, $640,000. A bank loan, and a seller note. Your checklist has 61 rows. You have built a 61-row spreadsheet once before in your life. That one priced an exit. This one prices a beginning. You finish this one. 9 days. The duplex took 19 days to lose. The company takes 9 to win. The difference is not courage. The difference is a checklist that did its worrying in advance. On paper, with a due date. Payroll goes out on time. Every time. Because you carry an exact memory of a kitchen table and $1,200 in envelopes. 2 years later, you add a plumbing outfit for $410,000. Nate finds the deals. You clear them. Nate drives. You check the mirrors. And between the two of you, there is one whole driver. Together, the two companies do $3.1 million a year and keep about $420,000 of it And you know that ratio the way your father knew 14 3/4. One night over the books, Nate finally mentions the duplex, apologizing again, and you stop him. He asked, you stalled. The market did not wait for your best draft. It never does. You split the next building down the middle instead. $380,000, 6 units, decided in a week. Nobody calls it even. It is better than even. It is next. Your father walks the shop floor one Sunday, 70 now, hands behind his back, reading the racks the way he used to read lumber. Good stock, he says. It is the longest review he has ever given anything. You cross your first million at 37 and feel mostly relief, which is what money is for people like you. Not a scoreboard, doors. The habit paid you in coins and charged you in doors. You are buying the doors back at market price. Level 8, the unanswered. At 44, the numbers are what they are. The firm, 2 companies, the fund that finally got its 11 minutes. A little over 5 million. And for the first time in your life, over is a word you can leave alone. The money is boring on purpose. Vans, filters, rent rolls, a fund you check quarterly. A man who once checked everything, checking quarterly. An offer to buy everything lands on a Friday at 4:50 p.m. You leave it unread until Monday, on purpose. All weekend it sits there, one tab you have chosen not to open, and nothing burns down, and no committee convenes. And on Monday, you read it once and reply in 3 sentences. Not yet. No drafts. The committee still exists. You kept Risk on staff. He is excellent now that he answers to you. You took the gavel. You let him keep the binder. Some nights you still wake at 3 a.m. and the archive clears its throat. You tell it the office is closed. Mostly now it is. Measure twice, cut once. At 44, you finally hear the whole commandment. Twice is not a warning. Twice is a limit. Your father was never telling you to be afraid of the cut. He was telling you when you had earned it. It took you 35 years to read the second half of a sentence. You buy your father a truck. Too much truck, he says, and drives it everywhere. The envelopes are gone from your parents' kitchen table. You checked. Elena is married. Nate tells you carefully, watching your face. Good guy, he says. Asked her fast. You laugh, and you mean it, because of course he did. And of course she said yes to a man who asked. In the spreadsheet of your life, there is still one empty cell. You have stopped trying to fill it. Some cells are not blanks. They are monuments. Gus dies at 82, between Saturdays. The clock arrives in a shoebox with a note in tower block printing to the kid who finally moved. At the service, the men from the tables stand in a row, like pieces set up for a game nobody is going to start. You keep it wound. You take his side of the table because somebody has to run the meeting. That is where the young man finds you on a Saturday in October. 22, maybe 23. Careful shoes. A haircut that took 3 appointments to approve. He takes 4 minutes on move 3. He apologizes twice for a move that was fine. Unprompted, he lists last week's mistakes like a man reading his own indictment. And while he talks, his eyes do the thing yours used to do. Drafting. Redrafting, auditing a past that has not even finished happening. You know the folder behind those eyes. You know the tabs. You can hear faintly a gavel. He mentions, unasked, a promotion he has not applied for. The posting closes Monday. He wants to think it over properly first. You know the exchange rate on properly. You have the invoice in your wallet. The habit hired him years ago. It has already run his numbers. And somewhere below your floor, an intern from sales raises his hand, the way he has for 35 years. And this time, finally, the chair calls on him, and he has only one word. Go. You reach across the table and press his clock. Your time, you say. He looks up like a man surfacing. He thinks the problem is the move. You know it is the meter. He does not know yet what the habit charges by the hour, but he will.